the president revoking the security clearance from the former CIA director, John Brennan. Senator Corker, who you serve with on the Foreign Relations Committee, said it's the move of a banana republic, similar. Your take?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen all the analysis as to why they did it. What they're saying is that he used classified information inappropriately. And if that's the case, of course, there need to be consequences. Having said that, I think in general, the idea here is former national security people should have access to this information because then they can advise the current national security people. And I think that's generally a helpful thing to have. But you got to be sure they don't abuse it. So I'm going to look into it and see. I mean, I've been focused on these other issues like these unaccompanied kids this week, but they claim that he has said and done some things that would only be possible if he had access to classified information, and that it's inappropriate, therefore, to talk about those things. I don't know. I'm going to take a look at it.
We had a special election here in Ohio, and took what many see as a safe Republican seat, turned it into what many see as a toss-up now. Your takeaway from 30,000 feet of what this all means for the races this year in Ohio?
You know, hard to tell. It was such a unique situation, having an election on August 7th. I went to campaign for this guy, Troy Balderson, who narrowly won the election. I think he'll be a great congressman, by the way. But, people just had no clue there was an election on August 7th. And a lot of people were out of town and so on. So the turnout was what was important. And, both sides did their best to try to turn out their voters. Democrats did a little better job than Republicans. Republicans still won because it's a district that's more Republican. But I'm not sure that there's a great lesson there for November because, that's a lifetime between now and November. Who knows what's going to happen? But I do think, the important thing for Republicans to do, in my view, is to talk about results. Talk about what we're actually doing. Talk about how the tax relief and tax reform is helping small businesses and families throughout Ohio. Talk about the opioid epidemic and what we've actually passed that's helping. Talk about how we're doing more in terms of the issue of our national security and finally restoring our Department of Defense and giving our soldiers and sailors and Marines, airmen what they need to be able to do their job. So there's a lot to talk about that's substantive, policy-oriented, and maybe a little less talk about other distractions.
Well, speaking of distractions, it did trigger a Twitter back and forth between the president and Governor Kasich. Bob Paduchik, former campaign manager, weighing in today and critical of Governor Kasich. Who has the bigger impact on the state right now, the president or the governor?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think that back and forth is, again, it's kind of a distraction. I think we should focus on the policies and the policy differences. And, there are going to be some policy differences between the governor and President Trump, and that's legitimate. But I think that's what the focus ought to be.